they signed P.D. Martinez, huge signing.
Piffy?
And yes, and
Piffy?
And he hasn't been good.
No, he's
coming on lately.
He's coming on.
But it took him a while, didn't it?
But it took the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it... Now, obviously, he had to deal with a brand new manager,
and
too.
people were calling for his head. Atlanta fans were, pissed off about Piffy.
Exactly. It's just the way it is. Some players... I mean, you're going to have some players like, obviously Joseph Martinez and Miguel Almiron also were brand new to Major League Soccer, and they took off right away. Boom. But those players are different. Not every player is going to be a superstar that's going to just click.
Again, we've talked about this on the podcast before. This is soccer. This is not baseball. It's not football. It's not hockey. It's not basketball. You cannot bring guys in and expect them to be great in the beginning. It does not
if they
work
do,
that.
if they are fantastic,
fantastic. But they have to learn. They have to learn the system. They have to learn what MLS is and do it.
Interesting you bring that up because I was honestly surprised because Tommy Chacon was at Minneapolis St. Paul Airport on Sunday,
and he was
playing in Sporting Kansas City on Thursday.
Well,
so maybe that's a good sign.
But I think that's
I think it's a picture of what they felt like he did in training.
Yeah.
And said, why the hell not?
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously it was a rotation game. It was, getting maybe players you wouldn't normally give minutes to an opportunity with the injuries.
And there's nothing that I saw of him on Thursday night that I didn't say, oh, whoa.
I raised my eyebrow a couple times after just seeing his footwork and ball skills and technical ability.
Yeah.
So.
But of course, we ended up giving up a goal.
Yeah. So let's get through the rest of this game.
Yeah.
We gave the goal. What minute was it?
It was 88th.
I fell asleep.
So it was 80. Yeah, I knew you did because David and I kept texting.
I was very tired.
But it was unfortunately it was not. It was a lapse, and I think it started up with Darwin. But bottom line, the goal was in the 80. We'll talk about Darwin in a minute, but it was in the 88th minute for Hurtado, their striker. Vito and Boxall, I think, got switched up, and Vito got off his line, and it didn't end well for the two of them. They weren't on the same page, Vito and Boxall. That was clear, but it was. They made a comment like, Vito Minone, after the goal was scored, ran 35 yards
out
of his goal, and he ran directly to Darwin Quintero to yell at Darwin Quintero.
That's Italian for you, right there.
And that's the thing that you have to... Some people were saying, well, the defense was a little lax, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
No. You have a goalkeeper who's standing there, can see everything that's happening in front of him. He runs 35 yards to bitch at someone. Guess what? That someone is who caused that.
I saw the replay. It was Darwin's fault. It was Darwin's fault.
So it looked. The finish looked bad as from a defensive goalkeeping standpoint. But I don't doubt Vito is right in the fact that he wouldn't have run up that far to talk to Darwin because unfortunately the replays, if you're watching the broadcast on ESPN, the replays weren't great of I think Darwin's lapse. But clearly there was something there, and he just.
So we give the goal.
And that was so there was just a few minutes left.
Yeah. And
that was it. That was it.
So out of this game, guys, we don't get a point. We don't get 3 points. We don't get a point. The Western Conference is a jumble.
It didn't take long. Yeah, it
didn't take long for us to drop
from second to fifth. And David and I were talking about this yesterday. Of course, we should know, and we know now that it's hardly worth talking about. The difference between second place and fifth place, as the standings in the Western Conference sit, it's a point or two. And the reason, say, we're in fifth and not fourth, is because of actually, it's the tiebreakers are, of course, you start with points. Points are first, and then it's goals scored. I was thinking it was goal differential. It's goals scored or wins. I'm sorry, wins, and then goal differential. But bottom line is this: there's 7 games left.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen, but the bottom line is, and with 7 games left for Minnesota United, 4 of them are on the road. 1 of them is at home against LAFC late September. It's a tough path to sled here. And then I know we want to talk about our we put up a poll question on our Twitter.
We did.
And maybe this would be a good
Let's go on the
good
poll
chance
list,
to talk about
Okay.
it, because if we look at the standings,
I voted.
as we sit, Minnesota, as we talk about, because the next game's not till Sunday night against LAFC, but Minnesota sits with 42 points. They're in fifth place, because of those tiebreakers we just mentioned. And I think it's important to realize that in second place, where we were just a few days ago, it's Real Salt Lake, but they're only at 43. And then you've got Seattle at 43, and LA at 42, and Minnesota at 42, San Jose at 41, Dallas at 40, and then you have Portland at 37. It's a tight race, so it's going to come down to which team is going to get the needed points.
I'm going to say it right now.
The poll question was what? Do you have that up yet, David?
Yeah. So the poll question was,
and this was to be fair, this was before the Sporting KC
Yes.
question.
was where were we going to finish in points? And then also I added the playoff scenario. So it was 62 plus points in a home match, 55 plus points in a home match, 50 in playoffs, less than 50 and miss everything.
Okay, before you get into who decided, in the Western Conference right now, every team chooses their own destiny right now.
Oh, without a doubt.
Every team does.
Yeah, but now let's set a few things straight. I mean, technically that's true, Tony, but I think we can safely sit here and say that LAFC is going to finish first.
Of course. Okay,
Well, right.
let's not.
Mathematically,
Yeah,
that's not
they're
decided yet, but
But
that's
between 2
done.
and 7,
Yeah.
you choose your own destiny.
You do.
It depends on what you do every game now. This is this is it. This is what's going on. The
Right.
Western Conference is so packed up.
Exactly.
The Loons couldn't be out of the playoffs.
Well, I just ran through. I ran through the playoff standings, and it's absolutely realistic to say that the teams sitting 2 through 7, as we sit here, there's actually a chance that 2 of those teams do not make the playoff line, because of the fact that Sporting Kansas City got their 3 points against the Loons.
And I pointed, before we go through this poll, I pointed out to you, Dave, last night that based on what you would expect to happen this weekend, Minnesota will be 7th.
Or that's
Monday
most
morning.
likely what you expect to happen, because there's a couple key Western Conference matchups.
Exactly. And considering who we play Sunday night.
Right,
So-
LAFC.
how many people voted for this?
Well, we only had 14.
I tell you,
14.
I was.
It's
I was,
our lowest poll.
I was one of those people. I mean, you sit here. And then I mentioned it's so hard to assign a lot of points remaining, because 4 of those games are on the road, including games at Seattle, Portland, and LAFC. And I think I'm forgetting the 4th one, but there's
Portland, Seattle, LAC, and
bottom line.
yeah.
In addition to the road games, which we've, other than earlier in this year, before Allianz Field was christened, Minnesota had done well on the road. But since the first month and a half of the season, Minnesota has not fared well on the road. And unless you're an optimist and think that can change, which it could, it's any given game, but it's tough to see Minnesota getting a lot of points on the road. So then you look at the 3 home games, and I know there's Sporting Kansas City, I think it's Real Salt Lake,
And then LA.
and LAFC.
LA, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I could see... here's how I look at it. Now, we can kind of update that poll. I mean, but I don't... It's hard to, in my opinion, imagine seeing maybe more than... I think, in my opinion, if you said 10 points, that would be very optimistic. I'm more in that 8 to 9 point range, which would get them right to 50 points. Right to about 50, 51 points.
What did the poll come out as, Dave?
55 plus in a home match.
See, I voted for the level below that, which was 50...
50 in playoffs. Is the
50
second
I
in
did
playoffs.
that.
That's what I voted for.
Yeah.
And shockingly, 50, less than 50 and miss altogether was 3rd.
Ooh.
Which I guess, considering 62 is the
I just
top.
laid it out. It's not Minnesota. Going into Sporting Kansas City, Minnesota United had the toughest schedule remaining.
Second toughest.
And then after the game, it turned into the hardest.
Right.
But as far as opponents' points per game, Minnesota has the toughest schedule. So it is difficult to say, well, they're going to get 3 points there, 3 points there, 3 points there.
But the thing is the difficult. I don't go by those things, because I'm one of those people that say you're a good team if you can't win, you're shit. And And Minnesota is in that situation. To me, I'm at a point where I say, if Minnesota doesn't get a home playoff match, I think Heath should be fired. Because Minnesota is a good enough team, and I don't think Heath is getting what he needs to get out of these players. Yeah. And the problem is that a lot of these players, I really don't think are going to be back next year because of their age.
Yeah.
And if they are, they're going to be playing bit rate roles.
Well, especially the older players. Yeah.
And for me, it's like this is the moment you have to do. You've played up to this. You've said 3 years, 3 years, 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. Okay, if you're going to make the playoffs, fantastic. But you were just in second place. I don't give a shit how tough the Western Conference is. I don't care how jumbled it is. You were in second place. You had, 3 weeks ago we had a goal differential, or 4 weeks ago we had a goal differential of 9 or 10.
We did,
and we were second in that. We're second in goals scored. We were legitimately the second place team in the West, and now we're in fifth, and now we're very good chance we're going to be in seventh.
So
look, this is not. I don't care what teams do on the road in Major League Soccer. If you're a good team, you win. And if we're not winning, we're not a good team. We don't deserve to be there.
So run through the
through
the stats.
It's something. The road home splits are bigger in MLS than maybe not soccer leagues across the world, but you look at a team like Atlanta United and it rolls into the opponent tonight. Atlanta United is 10-1-3 at home, and they're 5-8-0 on the road. I mean, there's something to be said about that.
You have to consider how poor they were at the beginning of the season.
That's true.
If you consider how they've changed, it's different, and that's the problem with looking at stats. Is you
can spin it any way you want. Like I tried to spin it the home road splits, but you probably said it better. They're a better team now than they were for the first 2 months.
So that's the problem with stats.
Yeah. Let's run through what everybody said on Twitter and see how they came out.
Well, there's a lot of people on Twitter. Let's not go through everybody.
Everybody who voted.
Okay.
Well, so
and we did that essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
so the majority of the fans that responded said that Minnesota would end up with a home playoff game.
All right.
Yes.
I still think Minnesota could end up with a home playoff game, but I do not think they're going to finish with much more points than 50. I think 50 to 52 is the range that they're
what we're looking
in.
at right now is to hit 55, we have to hit 13 points.
Yeah, which would be a bit optimistic considering.
That's saying that we win all 3 home games, which again is 2
doable.
of them we should.
Yeah,
a third one. Yeah. I think we'd be lucky to get a point.
Well, at least we don't have to face Christian Ramirez.
I don't.
He'll be with Houston, although we'll see him. Oh no, we will.
Well, we'll see him
and
with at Houston.
By the way,
at Houston. Okay.
By the way, boys, did you guys see last night's Houston-Dallas game? I think they kicked all the Houston fans out like 20 minutes early.
Did not see that.
Did you see that?
Not.
I haven't looked at anything for today.
So, just a thing on top of what we're talking about here. I think they were concerned about Houston fans, Dallas fans getting into a fight afterwards. Yep. They kicked all the Houston fans out 20 minutes early. In the 70th minute, they started kicking them out. And there's things on Twitter. Again, people on Facebook and Twitter were saying the same things. Like, usually you hold them late. But I guess there was some couple guys in the Houston thing.
You're Tony. You're talking about Sunday night's game.
Oh, Sunday night's game. Sorry. Was it Tuesday now?
It was Sunday night's game. Dallas won 5-1 against the Dynamo. Yep.
So they kicked out the Houston fans 20 minutes early.
The reality is Major League Soccer has been shit in the bed when it comes to relations with fans lately. So
I'm concerned.
I guess
I'm a little concerned that it kicks out tonight 20 minutes early. So
I would hope not.
We're in the upper level. I think we're good.
I want to watch. I really want to watch Minnesota lift the trophy. So I hope they don't kick us out early.
No, right. Sure. I think that's all I have to say about that. I think Major League Soccer has really shit the bed with how it relates to fans lately. Yeah. I'm going to avoid any political statements, but that's the way it goes.
We'll talk about the flag stuff on the next podcast. Yeah. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So let's get out of Casey, guys. we lost 1-0. Let's go out. Let's talk about tonight's game, guys. This is the biggest match in MNUFC